Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another video. This is going to be a golf swing analysis and breakdown for braindump4. Thank you very much, Mr. Brain, for submitting your swing to Reddit. I do enjoy responding to some of these posts, but I find that the text response can be pretty limiting. So we're going to try an experiment here with a video response, and we'll see how it goes. Please let me know your thoughts on the formatting here, and we will hopefully improve this as we go along. Right now, I'm not charging anything, and I'm just using this to practice my own ability to analyze golf swings and help people improve. So if you are interested in having your swing analyzed, please submit a comment down below, and I'll have some information in the description on how you can send your swing to me. For starters, just FYI, it is really helpful if you can have the camera placed in a little better location. If you can just get a little tripod and set it about waist high, right along your toe line, that would be ideal. But we'll still do our best here. But just FYI for the future. So, for starters, let's comment on the setup. Setup is very important. For starters, I really enjoy a lot of the angles I'm seeing here at setup. Right, you've got really kind of a soft knee flex, a soft amount of hip flex here. And these angles look really good at setup, right? Some kind of rounded shoulders. Your arms are hanging down fairly freely with just a little bit of forward reach. Just a tiny bit is totally good. As a general rule, I think George Gankus talks about how the armpits should be aligned with the kneecap with the balls of the feet. And I can't draw any lines on this, but it looks pretty good to me. And then, I would say overall a lot of good things to like here about your setup. Can't really see too much about your grip, but I would always recommend that you check out your grip and you think critically about your grip. It is a critical element of the golf swing. I'm just going to watch it through here a second. Awesome. Okay, so now let's start here with your takeaway. Now I noticed that the club is a little bit on the shut side or closed side, which would indicate maybe a stronger grip. As you can see, it's kind of pointing down at the golf ball, but that's fine. I don't really see anything here that is causing me any concern or problem. And kind of getting here at about this first parallel position, or P2. Shaft is actually kind of outside. If your toes are a little bit to the left here, your shaft is maybe a little outside, but that's not a problem. I don't see anything here that I would want to fix as of yet. Some nice, the angle of your shaft here is pretty good. You can see the butt of the club. If there was a laser beam pointing down, it'd kind of be to about this position, which is good. You want it to be kind of somewhere between your toes and the golf ball, not outside. Now, I think one of the things I want to comment on first is what you do with your knees. Okay, so let's talk about knee flex. You can see here at setup, your knees are pretty straight. A little bit of flex, but not a lot. Now we'll follow this right knee. See how it actually, for the most part, stayed in place and moved ever so slightly in this direction, and it is now increased. You can go back to here, see how straight it is, and then up to here, you can see there's quite a bit more flexion in this knee. Now, your left knee will most obviously flex, but your right knee should actually maintain, if not straighten a little bit. And I think the key idea is watch how it affects your hips. So specifically watch this line here on your pants. Right about there. I mean, it really doesn't go back very far. This hip, really kind of needs to clear back, and because your knee is keeping so much flex, it has a hard time doing that. So I would recommend that you would try to keep this right knee a little bit more straight, kind of like it is here at setup, and if anything, straighten it just a tiny amount in the backswing, and that will really allow you to in turn rotate that hip open and out of the way. Okay, now just a little drill that you can do is you can actually take an alignment stick and put it in your belt loops. Okay, and that will just give you a visualization of where your hips are. And you want, when you take a backswing, try to straighten that right knee in such a way that the alignment stick turns really far, almost to a 45-degree angle. And that'll help you get a little bit more turn in your backswing. Now, I think because of this, let's watch what your hands and arms do. Okay, so at about this position, now think of it like this, right? Your swing is from the ground up, right? The backswing is a twisting rotation movement that is off of the ground, right? The ground is kind of your torquing point, and you push off of the ground. So, the less you turn these lower parts, that creates limiting that adds a limitation to what these upper parts are able to do, right? So if your knees are not moving, right, if your right knee is staying flexed, that limits how far you can turn your hips, which in turn limits how far you can rotate your shoulders. So because of that, your backswing is kind of stunted. And my perception is that it causes you to have arm overswing. So watch from this position. This arm position is very good right here. This is great. But watch what happens to your right elbow and kind of your spine angle as we continue. See how you really have flung that right elbow out, and you've got a lot of, like your spine is kind of twisted back. I guess my opinion is at this position, I would like to see the shaft not going so far back. I wouldn't like to see the right elbow, staying more kind of tucked in like it is right about here. Like that's a really good right elbow spot right there, almost like you're a waiter holding a tray. And then simply replace that arm movement with increasing your hips and your shoulders. Okay, if that makes sense? So you want to do less arm moving and right elbow going back, and more, knee, hip, shoulder. Okay, so those are kind of my backswing thoughts. Now, I think everything else is pretty much a reaction to where you are up here, right? Because you've kind of gotten so long, I think that it causes, when you come down, you have this over-the-top movement, right? So look at, so if this, your hand path, watch your hands, they kind of come into this area, and they come this direction, this way, right? So they're coming over the top, and that's causing, like, look at this, the shaft in this position. It's pretty much completely vertical to the ground. For contrast, I'm not saying that you need to copy this, but just to give you some contrast, look at this image of Jon Rahm as a professional golfer, in a similar position that you are, right? So let's compare back and forth, right? You can see, for starters, his right elbow is much more kind of connected with his side, his upper part of his hip, whereas your right elbow is very much kind of extending out away from you, disconnected from your body. His shaft, his club head is well behind him. Your club head is probably up here in front of you and coming over the top. Okay, so from this position, John is able to simply, you can see the shaft is kind of pointing towards the ball, maybe even a little bit above. So all he's really got to do is take his big muscles in his body, his leg muscles, his butt, his abdominal muscles, his chest, and simply turn and rotate. Think of like a fan, right? A fan on a ceiling fan is powered in the middle, and the spokes that they just kind of radiate out from the center. But the spokes, they don't receive any direct power. In the same way, your body, your trunk, your core should be powering your golf swing, and your arms and your club are like the fan blades emanating out. Now in your position, if we go back a little bit, you're not really able to power the swing with your body. Watch this part. If anything, you kind of early extend a little bit. You watch how your hips are actually moving in this direction. up, you know, this look here of very vertical. And I think a lot, and then also too, you've got an open club face here. And I think a lot of that is really just due to kind of what happened at the back end of your backswing. So, you know, I think of the golf swing as a cause and effect thing, a dominoes, right? So the pieces that you lay preceding effect as the swing goes on. So I think you would be better able to address the over-the-top move, you know, the steepness, the open face leading to early extension, and the kind of the chicken wing. You know, all those things are going on, but I think that they all kind of stem from this backswing. You know, you kind of flex down in your backswing. So what would an ideal backswing look like? Well, your right knee would go back, your posture would stay tall, your hip would open more, your shoulder would open more, your arms would go back less, and then you would be in a position to hopefully drop, you know, use your wrists and your hands to drop the club face back behind you, and then really turn hard and rotate. You know, the left hip drives back, the left side of your body, your abdominals open, and you rotate in through the ball. So certainly there is an over-the-top move here, a kind of a casting release pattern here where you're losing, you know, the angles in your wrists. You can look at, like here, you can see how you really don't have a lot of wrist angle or quote-unquote lag. All of that, I think, you know, and then there's certainly an early extension move here with your hips as they kind of start way back here, and then by the time we get to about here, they've really moved forward. Your spine is pretty much straight up here, and then ultimately a little bit of this chicken wing look. I think all of those are certainly maybe issues to look at, but primarily I would start with the backswing. So hopefully that is helpful. Please let me know if you have any thoughts or comments down below, and let me know how you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.